Hello and welcome to Go Ballistic. This was the weekend when Premiership football returned on Saturday and Premiership goals returned on Sunday. Hearts against Rangers, Motherwell against Ross County. We'll say no more about them, but it was plenty of action on Sunday. A rip-roaring Dundee derby, big wins for Celtic and St Mirren, and of course, we've still got St Johnstone against Aberdeen on Monday night. We'll be here every Monday looking back at the weekend's action. We'll speak to SunSport columnist Kris Boyd later in the programme, and with me, Roger Hannah, we've got our football editor Derek McGregor. You were at the Smiza yesterday, Derek. Let's cut to the chase. How bad were Hibs?
Very poor, Roger, very poor. I think Hibs supporters have got every reason to feel alarmed already. I think their next two games are against Celtic, and unless Hibs are careful, they could go into a free fall. Very poor. They actually had the better of the first half, Roger, without a finishing touch, obviously, but second half, the nature of their collapse was alarming. And certainly David Gray, but referring to it as unacceptable, he succinctly called it.
Yeah, they've now got a couple of big games coming up, back-to-back against Celtic in League and in Premier Sports Cup. It doesn't get any easier.
No, and I think there was a look of real concern in David Gray's face post-match. As I said, the manner of the collapse in the second half was just astounding. And look, take nothing away from St Mirren, excellent St Mirren, really good. But there you have a team that is everything that really Hibs should be when you look at budgets. Stephen Robinson continues to do a remarkable job. And, St Mirren were a terrific team, a unit. And their response was as good as Hibs was as bad in the second half.
I was at Celtic Park yesterday, 4-0 win over Kilmarnock. The champions look as if they've just picked up where they left off, Derek.
Very impressive. I had a sympathy for Kilmarnock. I mean, obviously they are now having to adjust to domestic action so soon after, demanding European action. And obviously Derek McInnes had a number of changes, but nevertheless Celtic did look impressive and looked as if they won it comfortably, Roger.
We've got St Johnstone Aberdeen tonight already. Rangers fans will be looking at tomorrow night in Lublin away to Dynamo Kiev, a Champions League qualifying first leg. They weren't wholly impressive at Tynecastle on Saturday lunchtime. No. I mean, I have to say, Roger, watching the game, or what I saw of it, I actually thought Hearts looked extremely well equipped. Mm-hmm. And I think we've also got a number of weeks left of the transfer market. What Rangers do, I think, is going to be vital for the rest of their season. As things stand, I think Hearts could put a real challenge in for second. There was a debut for Václav Černý off the bench on Saturday. Robin Proper could come into the side in Lublin tomorrow night. How many more will Rangers need between now and the closure of the window, Derek?
I think certainly in the evidence of the first half, quite a few. I think in fairness, Rangers to a degree I thought defended well. I think they need two or three more, certainly experienced campaigners, I think. I thought Černý showed in flashes. I thought he looked quite reasonable when he came on. Everything I hear from Dutch sources tells me that Proper could be a good signing as well. But certainly first half they were very short. They were lacking so much, I thought. I actually thought that became a good point for Rangers.
We had our writers' predictions in the newspaper, the Scottish Sun last Saturday. Player of the year, Derek, you went for Mohamed Diamandi. You weren't the only one, but he was in there with Conor Barron in the middle of the park. Did that look an effective pairing?
I was disappointed with Diamandi. I actually thought Barron looked okay. I thought he didn't look too bad. I thought, he's got a bit of grit in the tackle. He had a decent shot in him. Look, it's the first game. It's the first game. You look at that and you're thinking, why on earth did I pick Diamandi? But, you go with gut feeling, you go with instinct. I actually went for Hibs for a playoff position, Roger, and changed my mind at the last minute and went with Dundee United. Now, looking at the games yesterday, that doesn't look a particularly great call on my part, I have to say.
Yeah, we don't often dip out of the Premiership, but in a bad weekend for Hibs, but a bad weekend for Hibs legends as well. Ian Murray, sacked by Raith Rovers after one game of the Championship season.
Just when we look at certain boardroom decisions and we think, that's ridiculous, it then goes to another level. Words fail you at times, Roger. Utterly remarkable decision, brutal decision, harsh in the extreme, I have to say. I mean, if that's the standard that Wraith Rovers are setting, well, I'm interested to see what their new appointment is.
Well, they reached a playoff final only 3 months ago in May, beaten by Ross County. They were okay in Premier Sports Cup group stage, albeit they didn't progress. And a 1-0 defeat to an Airdrie side who are also in the playoffs. It's not disgraceful for them there.
Absolutely not. And I'd like to think the vast majority of Wraith Rovers fans were even astonished by that. I certainly have not spoken to anyone that thought that was a right call, or indeed anyone who actually even thought it was on the cards for Ian Murray. Ian Murray has every reason to feel utterly bewildered at the moment, because I thought he was developing a good side there, and I think they were many people's tips for the championship this season.
That's great, Eric. Thanks very much.
Well, we can now join SunSport's Kris Boyd, a man happy to be back in the house on a Monday after that first weekend around Scottish football. It was Tynecastle on Saturday. It was Celtic Park yesterday, covering the Dundee derby as well. An exciting first weekend, Kris, or an exciting first Sunday, certainly.
We've another big game tonight. We go again tonight at McDermott Park as well. But, I think looking back over the weekend, you've got to say that Celtic caught the eye of everyone. I know a few people with a lot to say about Kilmarnock, but I think you've got to look at the way that Celtic went about their business in a professional manner. It's not their fault that Kilmarnock's got 2 European games, and they had to go about it in the right manner, and they did that. I thought they were, in terms of that pressing and getting after Kilmarnock, not allowing them to settle. Kilmarnock, I touched on it yesterday in the show that a lot of Kilmarnock's good play, all their strengths come from the fullback, whether it's Mayo or Joe Wright going high up the pitch, and the goal kick. The goal kicks go long, and all of a sudden Kilmarnock can get pushed up the pitch and press from there. But obviously with the players they had missing, it was always going to be a difficult afternoon for Derek McInnes and his team. Albeit, they did have a couple of chances. Was it Matty Kennedy at the back post at 1-0, and then you look at. I thought McCrory could have done a little bit better with a couple of the goals, but Kilmarnock won't be too. Obviously, you don't want to lose a game 4-0, but I don't think they'll be too disheartened with the game as such, because it's sandwiched in between 2 massive European games for themselves, and Derek will pick themselves up again.
Brendan Rodgers spoke in glowing terms of the performance of Rio Hattis. He started the ball rolling with that opening goal. It's a complete sea change from the start of last season when he was dumped on the bench.
We don't know what was going on at that moment in time, but what I will say is that when you look at Celtic's performances in pre-season, they've carried that on, and I know you can't read too much into pre-season, but I think when you look at their style of play and how well they've got the ball down and passed it around and getting runners, willing runners, and that's one thing that Rio Hattis brings to the team. Looking at Kyogo last year, there was a lot of people criticised him, and I kind of felt as if, when you look at the Ange Postecoglou way of playing, he was the man that was on the end stretching it, but there was always people around him. Whereas last season, I don't really think it was the same. There was a difference in Celtic's makeup, and obviously with Rio Hattis coming back in, he will get beyond. Matt O'Reilly will get beyond. And that allows Kyogo, maybe when he's not been involved in the game too much, it still looks as if he's busy because there's people filling that void of he's left. But you look at some of Celtic's goals, and I think that the Kuhn one as well. Kyogo's pass. We've seen it in pre-season as well, going into that middle where it's one touch back or him first time round the corner. They look as if they've settled. Obviously, the pre-season they've settled into the league campaign very well, and the big thing for Celtic is, and I'm sure we'll touch on it in a couple of weeks, is Europe. What can they do there? It's going to be another step up, but it'll be interesting to see how they. But yesterday, you've got to say, they're big players. They stood up to the challenge and ran all over the top of Kilmarnock, to be brutally honest. But and Matt O'Reilly as well. I think it's a big week or a big couple of weeks for Celtic with Matt O'Reilly. It'll be interesting to see what they do, Roger, because you kind of get the feeling if he's to go, then all of a sudden, Bernardo came in last season and sure he was a good player, but I don't think he's a Matt O'Reilly. You would imagine Celtic, the Ida transfer, the saga just keeps rumbling on, doesn't it? You'd imagine that'll get done, but you can't help but think that Brendan Rodgers will at least have one or two others up his sleeve, because it's what Celtic do, isn't it? I mean, they sell one player every year and get the money in, and look to reinvest that in the squad and try and hope that they hit the next jackpot. But the best bit of business could be keeping a hold of Matt O'Reilly this transfer window, because I mean, you've got his goals, his assists, but just his all round play as well. He's a really top operator.
Anthony Ralston's goal at the end put Celtic clear at the top on goal difference, ahead of St Mirren, 3-0 winners against Hibs. Was that a surprise result of the weekend?
Because, similar to Kilmarnock, they're sandwiched in between two European games as well. I must say, I thought Stephen Robinson's team and the way they went about their business on Thursday night was impressive. They didn't ask many questions in terms of trying to play it around. They would get it forward and ask questions of the opposition defensively. As I said, I've not seen any of the highlights yet for on the Hibs game. Said for me, the time that Sports Team was on last night, it's too late to be saying, I need my beauty sleep. But I think that I'll obviously catch them ahead of the show tonight. But we've got to say, I think with Stephen Robinson, he always seems to get his recruitment spot on. And once again, I think the goalkeeper's an upgrade. When you look at his distribution, whether that's going long or going short, he seems to be, he's caught the eye early doors. Smith has came in as well, and obviously Smith or Smythe, what is it? What we saying?
I'm just going to say Smith, buddy.
With you on that.
It was obviously Christian name that was puzzling me. I think it's Ocean. Yeah,
I know. I was quite surprised with that one as well. But some of the names nowadays, unbelievable. But I think in that middle of the pitch as well, and having Boyd Munce back as well is a big boost for them, and they'll fancy their chances as well on Thursday night. They'll go and give Brand a run for their money. They're obviously seen off go ahead Eagles in the last round, Brand, and second in the Norwegian League. There'll be no mugs, but I think the way that St Mirren, similar to Kilmarnock, I think the way that St Mirren play, they get it forward and they ask questions of you in that defensive, that defensive third, and they'll look to do the exact same again on Thursday. But I mean, in Hibs, where do you start? You kind of feel as if it's the same every season, isn't it? There's some performances in the League Cup campaigns where you think, right, okay, Hibs have got a little bit about them, then they go to Celtic and they lose. And then you think, right, you've got through that group stage. Here's the first league game. You've now got an ex-player who's now in charge, who's been there for a long period of time. But I mean, you look at what was only the goalkeeper and the two centre backs that were new signings. So a lot of them have been there before, and it might be there's more of a job on there than you would expect. That David Gray might need to be ruthless going forward, because it's the same old story for Hibs. I know it's early in the season, but I'm sorry. Hibernian Football Club cannot be going to St Mirren and losing 3-0. And as I said, when St Mirren are just off the back of a European performance on Thursday night, it can't happen.
You covered the Dundee derby yesterday, 2-2 again at Tannadice. Was that what the Premiership needed after two scoreless draws on Saturday? I've
got to say, we questioned Jim Goodwin before the show in terms of, well, not Jim Goodwin, I know he's a big part of it, but the whole recruitment at Dundee United, when you think that, you go down that division, you go and sign Moe, Grimshaw, Tony Watt, there's boys there that got you up. Fotheringham was on the bench as well, who'd scored a few goals from last year. More than half their goals from last season in the league campaign was either on the bench or out the squad altogether. And you kind of thought, this could be a different approach from Dundee United this year. They're a big club. They'll you're coming up. You've got your rivals who finished in the top six last year. But I've got to say, I mean, you look at some of Jim Goodwin's signings at Aberdeen, and he's dipped back into that market again. Babinski and Chapanovsky. I thought they were excellent. I thought they were really, really good. Chevelle on the right hand side. What a ball that is across for Miller Thompson as well. It was a really well worked goal. But I thought Van de Sande, the big striker up front. He caused Dundee a lot of problems, getting it forward and going and winning these headers. Pretty much old school as such, when they got it forward, he was always a threat backing in, get the ball down. But I thought Dundee United, they surprised me yesterday. Listen, it's easy. You're at home. You're just been promoted. It's Flag Day. You're against your rivals. You can get yourselves up for that. I'll be interested to see how they do going forward. But, I was impressed with them yesterday. On the other hand, Dundee, I don't want to say they overachieved last year because I thought they were excellent and they deserved to be where they were. But there might just need to be a reset, at Dens. And first of all, I think if you look at Tony Docherty, the first thing I'll be saying is survival. Let's survive and then we'll build on that. That was the message all the way through the season last year. I think that, the players have brought in, they might take time to settle. Simon Murray, he won't. And I thought he was quiet the first half, but, the second half when Dundee United dropped, he was a willing runner, obviously got the penalty. And that man, Luke McCowan, was able to tuck it away. He's struggling for confidence as well with the way he took his penalty. But again, similar to some of the other teams, you look at Luke McCowan, will there be interest from, I can't help but think that, a Hibs, a Hearts, and Aberdeen must be looking at him. They've got to be because, and that's no disrespect to Dundee, but, I think for Luke McCowan coming in from here as a winger, dropping into different positions, dropping into that centre midfield now, his next step might be to move to one of them. But, whether they've got the money to go and do it or not remains to be seen. But again, Tony Docherty as well, all these good players, and when you look at Josh Mulligan come on yesterday as well, Silla, Cameron, they're all in and around that area. The forward players, Palmer Holden obviously got a goal, Murray, Curtis Main come off the bench. They're all in those forward areas, midfield to forwards. You maybe going forward, how's he going to fit them all in?
Yeah. I'm going to brush over Saturday's games. 0-0 at Tynecastle, 0-0 at Fir Park, but we'll throw it forward to Lublin tomorrow night. Rangers are crucial Champions League qualifier, first leg against Dynamo Kiev. Will they have to raise their game from that performance in Gorgie on Saturday, Kris?
There's no getting away from it. I mean, I thought Hearts were really good. They went about their business properly, stopped Rangers from playing, and they had a few good performances there. I thought Taylor, the right back, was excellent, but I mean Vargas caused, especially Davies on that left hand side, a lot of problems early doors, and then the second half, obviously Balogun comes on and it does kind of change the game a little bit, but. I can't help but think that Rangers are going to have to, find another 2 or 3 gears because it was slow, pedestrian. I always look at the bigger clubs and the bigger teams and the better players in the countries. When you go through it, they've all got control of the ball, Roger. They've all got possession for a large amount of times. They'll put 10, 15 passes together and frustrate the opposition. I don't really see that with Rangers. I don't see it. I think they're struggling to ball. Whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's I know the manager keeps saying it's a new group, and it is a new group, but that wasn't a new team on Saturday. Added to the fact that Conor Barron has been in the league as well, so he knows that yes, it's different pressures coming from Aberdeen to Rangers, but they're going to have to find that as I said, another 2 or 3 years because Dynamo Kiev will be, or they are, a step up. We've seen that in the last round. Comfortable winners. Cropper came in. Does he come into the centre back area? It's got to be something that the manager's thinking about. On that right hand side, Tierney come on, and I thought he looked as if he's got really nice touches. It'll be interesting, I think, as it develops because he looks to me, Roger, as someone who's on that right hand side that might come in and try to look to bounce off a striker. I don't think Rangers have got that at this moment in time. Dessers will look to get in behind and cause problems different ways. So, as I said, there's a lot of issues needing solved for Rangers, and they're going to have to do it quickly because, the next week is such after coming off the back of, drawing at Tynecastle. I think the performance from Celtic the weekend as well puts added pressure onto Rangers because the fans are looking, saying there's a style of play there, there's a way they're going about it. We don't really see that at Ibrox right now. I know it's early doors, but you've got to say that you're going to have to find, 2 or 3 gears. All the positivity was around the manager signing a new deal. Listen, I wasn't buying into it. I think that it's a statement of intent that we're going to back our manager. I totally get that, but it doesn't change. It doesn't change all the problems that Rangers have had pre-season, and we've seen that again on Saturday. As I said, I think that they're. Whether it's another couple of weeks away from hitting top form, but they're going to have to find it one way or another because over the next period of time, for the next 3-4 weeks, the amount of games they've got and the amount of big games they've got. That's why you want to be at Rangers. That's why you want to, be challenging for qualifying for Champions Leagues and challenging for leagues come the end of the season. But it starts at the start of the season, and they're going to have to find a way to win games of football.
Boy, that's great. Thanks very much. I'll let you go. I know you've got a busy day. You're heading to Perth tonight, and I've been speaking to the Sky producer. I know he's got yourself, Faddy, and Big Sutton practicing that Celtic dance celebration all day, so you can do it in the show tonight.
I'll be entertaining any dance.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Well, that's one match day down, just 37 to go in the SPFL Premiership this season. Remember, we will be here every Monday to review the action. We will be here every Friday to preview the next weekend's action. You can watch Go Ballistic on all the Scottish Sun social media platforms, and remember to subscribe to the Scottish SunSport YouTube channel. All the best.